Hello everyone, welcome back to another Ableton tutorial. Lovely to have you here. Big shout out Patreon gang, big shout out YouTube gang. Right, today what are we going to do? Well, today is less exploration into weird glitchy bleepity bloopity generative stuff and as kind of production tool that's going to help in your mix downs. Ableton does not have a stock dynamic EQ, so I thought let's build one. Let's build a 4-band dynamic EQ. The one that I've built here is what we're going to make today. You can just download it in the description below. I also made a 3-band multi-band compressor because they're kind of similar and I was making stuff. So yeah, that's free to download in the description below. It will take you to my Patreon, but you can sign up for free and grab this for free there. So what is dynamic EQ? What is the difference between dynamic EQ and multi-band compression? How do we use it? How do we build it? Well, they're kind of similar, dynamic EQ and multi-band compression. They're basically frequency sensitive dynamic controls. You use them in slightly different ways. Multi-band compression, you sort of divide it into highs, mids, and lows, and then you can sort of really shape the dynamic spectrum of those individual bands. Use it more for sort of the overall shape of a sound or a mix. Dynamic EQ, again, we're taking very frequency-specific bands and using that to control dynamics, but we can be very, very surgical, like sort of really remove problem notes and problem frequencies easily using dynamic EQ. I find it's a lot more natural sounding than just a standard EQ because it's, well, it's dynamic. It says it in the name. It's really responding to an incoming signal as opposed to just sort of chopping out a sound. So in the background right now, you can hear a piece from my album, Non-Determinative Outcomes, AV album that I put out recently. I just wanted something to talk over at the start. I'm just going to press stop on that now. And we're going to start from the start. We're going to build a dynamic EQ. So I'm going to bring in a new audio channel, Command T, and I'm just going to start with a piano sample here, which sounds like this. This is just me messing around, playing some stuff on piano. And we're building a 4-band dynamic EQ, so surprise, surprise, I'm going to start by bringing in an EQ. And what we're going to do is now create a way that we can listen to very specific frequencies and generate a control signal from very specific frequencies and use that to control, we're going to use just these 4 bands. And so to begin with, I'm not going to change anything on here. No, I am. I'm going to change these to notch filters. So we've got four notch filters here. Now I'm just going to select it, press Command G. We're going to turn that into a group, and that's going to be our main output. I'm going to rename that main, and tell you what, I'm going to add a spectrum after that so that we can sort of really see stuff sort of quite cleanly and clearly see what's going on. Now, how do I listen to specific frequencies? Well, I'm going to bring in another EQ8 in here. I'm going to turn the main one off, and what we're going to do is we're going to create an ability to sort of really sweep through a frequency here, and we're going to use that using actually five bands. So the first band is going to be on a low shelf. I'm going to right click, map that frequency to macro 1, and we're going to bring the gain all the way down on that. The second band is going to be a high pass, just the regular slope, not the ×4 slope. And again, I'm going to right click, map that frequency to macro 1. So both of those frequencies now being controlled by macro 1. Macro 3, we're just going to leave on a notch here, but again, I'm going to map that frequency to macro 1. Now I'm going to just use these top 2. So macro 7, I'm going to do the reverse of the other one. We're going to use a low pass, going to again map that frequency to macro 1. And here we're going to do a high shelf, and we're going to do the same thing, bring the gain down, map that frequency to macro 1. So now I can sweep this through. Let's have a listen to what we can actually hear as I sweep this through. So we can hear it really selecting the individual band there, but what we really need is this notch band to really come up. And so we're going to turn the gain all the way up on that. So now when I sweep through, we're actually getting really specific band. And we can use this Q on this band 3 to really widen or make really, really tight the band that we're listening to. So I'm going to right click and I'm going to map that to macro 2. After this, I'm now going to put an envelope follower, and I'm going to use the level on. So when I press play on here, depending on the band that's going on, actually I'm going to gain this up a little bit. Let's gain it up to sort of 2. So now we're creating a signal based on the volume of a specific frequency range, and we can be super specific with which frequency range that is. We can adjust the sensitivity of that. You can see it's that one note is really getting triggered there. So we're going to use this to control the gain on band 1 here. So I'm going to right click. Well, first of all, I'm going to change this to -50. I'm going to change this to unipolar, and now I'm going to just map that to the gain on band number 1 here. I'm also going to right click, I'm going to right click on the frequency here, so map that to the same frequency as everything else, and I'm going to right click on the Q and map that to the same Q as everything else. And I'm going to come back here to this envelope follow, and I'm going to right click and I'm going to map the gain to macro 3. So now we have a situation where I can really control the frequency of a specific thing that I'm listening to, the bandwidth of that frequency, and the sensitivity of that frequency. I'm going to rename these. B1 frequency, let's rename this to B1Q, and let's rename this to B1 sensitivity. As I press play here, we can control the frequency, we can control the Q. So let's turn that around and come back to this main EQ here. And we can see, unfortunately, it doesn't show it on here, Ableton. I wish you actually showed this ducking right down, but we can see the gain actually ducking down. And so where this becomes super useful is, let's say that one note that's now getting quite loud. It's a bit too loud. I want to maybe try and control that note. So I can double click on the spectrum here, and it opens up the spectrum in a huge thing, right? And I can see this is the frequency of that note. Oh, let's press play again. I should just put it on loop, shouldn't I? Here, this is the frequency of that one sort of lower note that's quite loud. So what I'm going to do, I can see down here in the bottom corner the frequency, and it's 249. So I can adjust this to be 249. I could type it in. At the moment, the Q is very, very wide, so we're sort of getting a lot. But if I really tighten that up and turn the sensitivity way up. Come on, keep playing. Yeah, let's put the loop on. Let's put the loop on, so I don't have to keep pressing play. The loop can go on. So now we come back here. Shift Tab to switch between these two. If you don't know that shortcut, Shift Tab to switch between those two views. So now we can really see that one note is really being controlled by that shaper. I'm going to rename that first of all, band 1. And if I want to listen to just band 1 and what's controlling it, I can press the solo there. So this is a really nice way of being really surgical about removing particular notes. So in order to turn this into a 4-band graphic EQ, simply all that I did was, I come back here, I did that. I copy-pasted it, did 4 bands. As you can see, we've got 4 separate bands identified by the colors here. I did a global attack and a global decay for how quickly things are going to attack and release. And where that is found is on each of these envelope followers, the rise and fall. So it was right-click, map to macro 7, and then right-click, map to all siblings. So as I turn this up, you can see that we're getting, the shape's going to change. Yeah, so it's a bit more gentle and a bit more gentle release. You know, you can really dial it in. I'm waffling here. So let's have a listen to where this could be super useful. So I'm going to bring that piano sample back onto my track with. I've just got another couple samples here from sample packs as well. So if I press play on here, and we can see what's happening on the spectrum here. And I made some presets here so that some D mud. So it takes a little bit out of the middle. I can control the lows. Maybe the lows will be more obvious if I put on a drum loop. So here we're really controlling the low end of the spectrum. I'll turn it off. Dynamically controlling that, or I could make some space. So that's taking a bit out of we can see that's taking a bit out of the mids, and then a bit out of the highs as well there. So there you go. That's how you build a 4-band dynamic EQ. Quite a short video today, but I find this a super helpful rack when I'm doing mixdowns, as it allows me to be much more surgical in the way that I'm treating the sounds and making all the sounds sit together. Hopefully you learned something from today. Link in the description below if you want to download this rack. And as I mentioned, I also made where's it gone here? I also made a multi-band compressor. the function's kind of the same. We've got a low crossover and a high crossover, and then the controls for each of the three bands there. Both of those downloadable in the description below. Thanks for being here. See you next time.